So I would say just get in the game,
Yeah.
and knowing that that this is not, it may not be your forever house. And if you go into it with that mindset, just knowing that this is a stepping stone, like the first one can get you into your dream house.
Real estate investing for beginners. Sean, can you speak into this for us?
Yeah. So real estate investing for beginners, I think that everybody would need to look at where they are in their situation to kind of determine, where they could start. So I would say one of the most important places to start is to own your own property. And so what I mean by that is, a property that you're going to be living in anyway, you should own that property. If you're in position to buy, you should buy a property as opposed to renting, because when you're renting, you're throwing away money and you're making your landlord rich. I'm a landlord, so, we do need renters. So I'm not saying everybody is going to be an owner, but, if you want to be a landlord and you want to be the lender per se and not the borrower in this sense, you want to own your own property that you're going to live in. And so I would encourage anybody when they first get started to invest in your own property. So that's the best way to get into real estate investing, because there's a number of ways that you can go from that point. So own your own property, live in that property, and at some point in time, stay in there for about 2 years at least, and then get in position to buy another house. So you will buy another house and rent that current house out. And about every 2 years, you do that all over again. And then what will happen is you'll build up this portfolio over a course of about, 5 years. You can have about 3 properties, right? Mm-hmm. And once you get those 3 properties, you can leverage those properties to buy other properties without moving out of the property that you're in. So you use those 3 kind of as leverage, right? The bank will see that you have, 2 properties with tenants in there, 1 property that you're living in. And so they'll see that you're an owner, and those properties, for the most part, they probably have appreciated in value. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of use that as collateral per se. A lot of times you don't have to put it up as collateral, but they like to see that you have assets. Those are assets to you now. So you have cash flowing assets. And so what happens at that point, then you would go to the banking institution and say, hey, I have these 3 properties. I'm living in 1, renting 2. I'm making money off the 2. I'm saving a little money on the 1 that I'm living in. And now I want to look at buying some other assets. And so 1 or 2 things the bank can do for you. They can help you access what's called a home equity line of credit, so you can get a line of credit, and you can, for the most part, when you get a line of credit, you are supposed to renovate the home that you're living in. That's technically what it's for. But, as long as you pay the mortgage on it, that's what's most important. And so you can take and use that, or they'll give you another outstanding loan against another property, because they know that you now have cash flow and they know that you have assets. And so they'll basically allow you to get in another property, a rental property, just depending on which program you get involved in, anywhere from 10 to 20% down. So let's just say if it's a $100,000 property, you can get in that property with as little as $10,000 to $20,000 down. And then, the bank will finance the rest. And you just put a renter in that property, and once you're cash flowing for that 1 year, you do it all over again. You go to the bank and say, hey, I have 3 rental properties now, and they're cash flowing. I'm living in my current property and it's appreciating in value. I want to look at getting another property. And so once you do that, it's a snowball effect. And it's just a perpetual motion. You can just keep that going. And to be honest, the sky's the limit as to how many properties you want to get that way. But that's the start. Own your own property first. I would say that if you don't already own your own property. Now, if you own your own property already and you just have a property that you're living in, you have to assess your situation and figure out if that's a property you want to rent out. If you've been there for about 2 years, if you want to rent that property out and move to another one. If that's not the case, then you just skip step number one, as opposed to, trying to move out of that property and renting it out and getting into another one. You go straight to the bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, I have this property. I've owned it for X amount of years. And so hopefully you've owned it for a little while. And once you've owned it for a little while, you can use that property kind of as collateral. You use that property as collateral. The bank say, oh, wow, you got an asset. You got a property that you're living in is worth X. You only owe this amount. So we know that you're a responsible individual. You're paying your bills on time. So that's important. You got to be paying your bills on time.
Yes.
And then you say, hey, I want to borrow some money because I want to get an investment property. And so you just identify a property. They're going to give you a loan where you can put 10 to 20% down. And that's how you get into your first rental property that way. So you can be owning a property, living in it, benefiting from that, but you can use that history to leverage yourself to get another property.
Okay, so what's a good first home type to buy if you're planning on renting it out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a good first home to buy if you're planning on renting it out, obviously, you got to look at your family dynamic. So if you're going to use the strategy that I mentioned about, buying a house first and then renting that house out later, I would encourage it to, if you can, make it be at least 3 bedrooms and at least 2 bathrooms. So 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Because that's going to appeal to the masses. So at least 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And it doesn't have to be a huge house. It just has to be a decent sized house. I would say anywhere, on the spectrum of 1,000 square feet. And for a rental house, maybe up to 2,000 square feet. You don't necessarily want to have your first rental too much bigger than that, because then you're gonna attract a bigger family. And then when you have just more people, it's just more maintenance. So you want to keep it where there's a fair amount of space where people can utilize, but you don't want the biggest house on the block, because then that can be an issue.
That's good to know. That's weird. What was your first investment in rental?
That's a good one right there, because I'm actually living in one of the first main rentals that I did. So we're right back to where we started. So when I first moved here to Charlotte, 2006, we bought this house in 2006, right? And so I did exactly what I told you. We stayed in this house actually for 2.5 years. Stayed in here for 2.5 years. We identified another property, and once we identified the other property, we moved in there, and we rented this property out. And this property stayed rented from about 2009 all the way up to 2018. So we had a client in here, tenant in here for almost 10 years, and it was a great tenant.
Yeah,
they took really good care of the place. They paid the rent on time. They communicated well, and the beautiful thing about it is they paid my mortgage down dramatically, and I was still able to make money from the rent that they were paying us, because my mortgage was a lot lower, And so the beautiful thing is this house is almost paid for.
Nice.
And so what happened was we had the option to, when they were going to move out, we had an option to buy another place or, come back to this one. And we just decided to come back to this one. We just renovated it. We did a full gut, everything in here is pretty much brand new, and, it's almost paid for. And so that's a blessing right there. So it works. And I mean, in between that time, that almost 10 years, we bought several properties in between, just using some of the other strategies. that I'll discuss at a later date. But it works. This is the first one right here.
Yeah,
And
that's
this is a
full.
three bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's nothing. We've added a little bit of square footage on it, but it's the perfect one. Like I said, it's about 2,000. Well, it was 2,000. Then we've added about 500 square feet to it. So perfect rental.
Ah, okay. So expanding on it, I'm sure that that's another story we'll have to cover.
Yeah.
So yes, I guess like people looking to kind of like start in real estate investing, like what are some encouragement you would just like pour out onto them?
Yeah, and so what I would encourage everyone to do is get in the game, right? You got to own something. Like right now, in the market is kind of crazy, and I get it. It's hard to get into, but at some point in time, you got to get in the game. Like you can't wait forever and wait for that right time, because there's no time like now. Because even if you get in this market, just when this market continues to appreciate, then you're going to benefit from that. So get in, because with renting, you don't get any benefits. Obviously, you can call the maintenance people if you got an issue, but that's not even the real benefit. I mean, with owning a house, you're going to get the obviously the pride of ownership. You're going to get tax benefits. You'll get write-offs and so forth. So there are a number of benefits. So I would say just get in the game, and knowing that that this is not, it may not be your forever house. And if you go into it with that mindset, just knowing that this is a stepping stone, like the first one can get you into your dream house. Because if you build enough equity in this property, or you have a tenant in there that's paying it down, or you're cash flowing, it'll put you in position to get that dream house that you want. And so I just say get in the game. So get in where you can, buy what you can afford. For a rule of thumb is kind of, you don't want to buy anything that's more than 1/3 of your monthly gross income. So people buy higher, but that's just a good rule of thumb. I like that rule of thumb, because you don't want to be what they call house poor. You still want to live a good life and enjoy yourself, and not be stressing over mortgage payments. So just get in the game. Buy something, even though it's not, may not be your dream house. But one thing I know for sure is they're not making any more land. So if you can get you a piece of the pie, get you a piece of land, then you're going to be in a good position. Because as more and more people come to wherever you are, whatever city you're in, small city, big city, normally that's going to, supply and demand. If more people want houses, it's going to drive up the prices. And so at some point in time, there's a good chance that your property is going to appreciate in value. So you gotta get in the game. If you don't get in the game, then there's no way you can win.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, you guys heard it yourself. Get in the game.
That's right. That's
Cool.
right. That's
Awesome.
right.
Cool. All right. Till next time.